Found this piece of driftwood and rock very close together, so decided I would take them as a memento of our stay here at the cabin. Gary and Babs' place, which again is up here. This has been where we have been for the last 4 or 5 days. Very easy to find if you're traveling east on the Trans-Canada Highway. A little bit harder to see when you're coming west, especially in the evening. And it was called Pearson's Peak, and it used to be open to the public. It was a stopping place, but what happened over the years, it deteriorated, and back in the early 90s it closed and was torn down. This has significance for myself personally, as my dad, who worked with the Department of Transportation, actually brought the stone for this from Clarenville to be built here. And there used to be a saying back in 1965, there was a little jingle and signs posted on the highway everywhere in Newfoundland that would read, "We'll finish the drive in 65 thanks to Mr. Pearson," who was the Prime Minister at the time. I was able to dig up a couple of pictures of what this structure looked like. Sorry for the quality, might not be great, but this is the best I could find to give you an idea of what Pearson's Peak actually looked like in its heyday. I think the plaque does a good job to commemorate this. In the next 2 slides or 4 slides, I'd like to highlight 2 gentlemen that played an important role in my young life as I worked in the bakery, beginning there as a young 17-year-old and then finishing my career there in 1990. Thank you. Depicted here are my father and his 5 siblings when in younger days, and here in this picture is my twin uncles, and here is some of the ancestral tree of the champions from days gone by, and the only pictures that we have available. So this picture here is of my great grandfather Joseph, and here is one of his siblings, Eli, and then his other sibling, Nye, as we called him. And all together they used to work for the building of the Botwood Railway as railway section men, and that's where my grandfather ended up working for many years. Here is my great grandmother's on the right and her sister on the left, and they married 2 gentlemen, being Joseph and Eli, that I mentioned earlier. My grandfather here, and his brother Lemuel and his wife, and then their only sister Teresa and her husband. And here are my grandfather and grandmother, and here's the picture that you saw earlier of the champions. Overall, a great time. And here you can see it's a little painting that was done of them. This is what's known as Gorge Park, just down from the back of the mill. The water that you can see in the middle of the video is where it leaves the rapids and just comes into this part of the park. Steady water here that flows on to Bishop Falls, but a lot of walking trails and that are here. this has been built since I left, but beautiful part of our community. This is the bridge on back of the mill. That's Stony Brook over there, a popular salmon place. And the power plant is pretty well all that's left now of the mill in Central Newfoundland here in Grand Falls. And I'm stopped here on the bridge deck that takes you behind the mill, as we used to call it. So here's a view of the water that's coming down there. And then if I turn around, that's across to the Salmon Interpretoid Center. And then there's another view of the Exploits River as she winds her way down through the community of Grand Falls and then on to Bishop Falls. We thoroughly enjoyed our time here, and as this picture depicts, heritage is very important to many people, including ourselves. So I hope you enjoyed this video.